Talking with the experts.
Knowing who you lead and understanding why issues occur is explained by Carrie-lynn Hotson in episode 333.
Well, and that's, it's a really good point. And I think, though, if we look traditionally, what we've done is we tend to look at your skill set in the job. You are really, really good at this job that we're doing. So could you please start supervising? Could you start training people? Could you start leading people? Okay, but I'm really good at the job that I did. That doesn't necessarily mean that I have been given the leadership training and skills, or I was handed a book. Here's a great leadership book. Please read it. And now, just like you would use the playbook for hockey, please start doing it. But I don't know how to do it with this team, or this team is different than yesterday's team, or I tried this strategy, but this player doesn't like it.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Carrie-lynn Hotson, and she's from Inspiring Organisational Growth. And we're going to be talking about knowing who you lead and understanding why issues occur. Carrie-lynn is an author and HR specialist with 25 years of experience as a leader, coach, facilitator, and mediator. She has created her own HR consulting and coaching business to help leaders and teams enhance their understanding of why issues occur. We all want to know why, always. Carrie-lynn shares her own lessons and even mistakes to help inspire growth in others. She equates what she does with the game of hockey. I sit in the bleachers and watch the game, and then I sit on the bench with you and help coach the team. Well done. Welcome, Carrie-lynn, and thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for the invitation.
So tell me, how did you get into human resources, and, why is it such a thing for you?
Great question. So I have a pretty diverse career. I started the first 17 years actually as a police officer. And so really serving the public and dealing obviously with issues, lots of relationship issues, conflict issues. And then I moved to human resources, basically doing the exact same issues, but now within organizations. I have a real passion for helping people have relationships and then rebuild relationships, maybe when they've broken down.
Yeah, it's a good reason to be in human resources because, I studied it some years ago, and I just, because I'm quite heart-centered, I like the challenge of getting to organisations and helping them to understand how they could be doing things better with leading teams and so forth. So yeah, I get why you did it. So your goal is to help employers and who are currently struggling to attract and retain employees, and that's often an issue in any business. Sometimes it's to do with leadership, other times it's just to do with finances. So, what would you advise?
So I think, a lot of different things have happened in the world in the last 2 or 3 years, and organizations are, having to pivot. We have to move from a really process-driven workforce where it's, here's your job title, here's what I need you to do, here, I'm going to train you quickly in these skills, please do it, to now being more people focused. And rightfully so. But it's a difficult transition. Leadership is really, really hard. For all of you listening that are leaders and thinking, I don't have time. I'm trying to run my business. I'm trying to, hit production lines and those business margins, and everything's going up in cost. And now I have to worry about the people that I'm leading and lead each of them differently. It's not that leaders don't want to. I think, one, they don't have the skills, and two, they feel they don't have the time. And so my job really is to just kind of slow things down. And again, sit in the bleachers. I'll do it for you. I'm going to watch and see what's going on with the team, how they're being coached, who's working well with each other, who isn't. and then come down and help you actually coach from the ice. Figure out, let's get this team, the synergy working a little bit more. It could be that there's miscommunication or mistrust, or nobody really understands which play we're doing right now, or what's my part in this play. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. We just know we're supposed to score goals, but we don't know how. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I love working with organizations, and I let the bosses and the leaders do the stuff they're really, really good at, which is running the business. And I'm really good at the people relationship part and getting to the root of the issues, and then helping you create synergy that honestly, it makes everybody's jobs easier. Everybody wants to be happy when they come to work. The bosses
absolutely.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, to be a good leader, you should have those people skills anyway. I would, for me, if I were to be a leader and I've got good people skills, I would expect, my leader to have good people skills. Otherwise it makes for a horrible workplace.
Well, and that's, it's a really good point. And I think though, if we look traditionally, what we've done is we tend to look at your skill set in the job. You are really, really good at this job that we're doing. So could you please start supervising? Could you start training people? Could you start leading people? Okay, but I'm really good at the job that I did. That doesn't necessarily mean that I have been given the leadership training and skills, or I was handed a book. Here's a great leadership book. Please read it. And now, just like you would use the playbook for hockey, please start doing it. But I don't know how to do it with this team, or this team is different than yesterday's team, or I tried the strategy, but this player doesn't like it.
Or I'm just not a leadership material. I can do the job, but I'm not, I don't want the leadership role, but it's been thrust upon me. What the hell do I do now?
Right. So I'm just going to sit in my office. I'm going to shoot out everybody emails. I don't like interacting with people. I don't want to do relationship building. It's not my thing. And that's okay too. A lot of what I describe in my book is people's strengths, and that we have to empower people in their strengths. If your strength is a certain area and maybe it's not the relationship building, we can still work on it. I can still give you tools to use, because in the end, everybody wants to lead well. Nobody doesn't want to be doing a good job. That's why they're in the role. They just need to understand how.
Yeah, and I think, I worked for a government organisation in law enforcement some years ago, and we were always set on leadership training, because we had to lead teams. We had to do ship searches, or we had to do, container searches or something. And we quite often had to lead a team of our peers who sometimes were higher ranked than us. And so it was an interesting thing. But, this government organisation actually had the nous to train everyone in leadership, not just the few that were going to be managers sometime in the future. So, for us, it was all really good. But, but still, even after this training, some people just weren't good leaders.
And that's where really the independent leadership coaching comes in, because sometimes it's a case of we need to get to who you are and who you want to be. And a lot of people don't realize what they're doing and how it impacts other people. They know their own behaviors, but they've never really had that conversation. And when do we have those conversations in workplaces? We don't. We do performance evaluations and say, here's our expectations of you, and you're not meeting them. You're not doing what we want you to do. But do we give you the why? Do we give you the chance to have a conversation and say, when you lead me this way and you send me an email and I read that, it's very short and firm, in my mind, I think you're putting me down and you don't respect me. And you think, what? I just sent you an email that had a couple words of things I need you to do. Like, I can't believe you put that emotion around it. I had no idea. So here's something, it's a miscommunication. It creates this mistrust. And it's so easily resolvable because you and I just need to understand each other a little bit more.
That's right. That's where, having a conversation is very helpful. So, so I guess, around all this miscommunication and things, we need to understand why these issues occur. And we know that, communication or miscommunication is one of those issues. But what are some of the other issues that people come across?
So often within organizations, I find we're moving too quickly. And I keep saying my role is to help people slow down just a little bit. And people say, well, we don't have time. Okay, but we can't keep doing things the way we've always done them because they're not necessarily working. We're not retaining the employees that we need. Do you know why you're not retaining employees? Well, no, we asked them in their exit interview and they didn't tell us anything.
Well, yeah, they're going to say, yeah, right. So,
Right, right. I'm not going to
then you'll give me a bad reference. No, I don't think so.
see you bang on. You know why? Or maybe I don't trust. I mean, you never asked me my opinion the entire time I'm here. Now you want me to give it to you. So I'm not necessarily even trusting. So one of the things I do with organizations really is trying to rebuild that trust or build it for the first time. Because if we want people to fill out surveys, if we want people to give us information, if we want to have those honest conversations where I actually feel like I can tell you how I felt when you sent that email, we have to start with trust. And it has to begin right at the very beginning. It should be part of our onboarding and in our orientation. But what is it really? It's here's our policies, here's our processes, please sign here, here's your payroll stuff, here's your job description. We found somebody that's going to teach you. Welcome to the organization. Good luck. Have a good time.
Yep, they've done that many times.
Oh, we've done it for decades and it worked sort of, but now the reality is a lot of people have retired. We have I don't know what your stats are. I should have looked them up. In Canada, we have over 1 million jobs that haven't been filled right now. A million.
We've got quite a few here. Most of ours are in the hospitality and in the agricultural, because we're finding it really hard to get pickers for our fruit and veg. Because we've got no migration at the moment. So
right.
It's really difficult. Yeah. And that's why some of our food is so expensive, because I can't get anyone to pick it.
There you go. Yeah, that's really good insight. And so if we keep trying to bring people in the way that we always have with a job posting, if we advertise our company the same way we always have, people actually want to know who the people are that work in your organization. How often do you talk about that? What does your job posting say? People look at your website and your mission, vision, and values, and you say you are an inclusive workplace. Okay, then I'm going to talk to people that work for you. Do you feel it's inclusive? Do you feel like you can give your input? Is it welcomed? Is it valued? No, I've never been asked for it. No, I wouldn't define us that way. We're actually in a place now where employees are interviewing us as much as we're interviewing them.
And that's the way it should be. The employee should be doing the interviewing, because, they have to bring value to the organisation. But on the other side of the coin, the organisation has to offer value to the employee. I mean, whenever I went for a job, I used to always look at their annual report. I used to get really good insights. And so you go to the interview and you cite the annual report and they just look at you like, oh my God.
They've never read it.
No, pretty much.
I think so. I mean, obviously you've got a fantastic background and a very similar background. That's really interesting how the two of us have some similarities. I think there's a lot for organizations to learn, and there's a lot of value. I think there's potential in everybody. I think there's potential in every single employee that you have, and every leader. We just have to figure out how to leverage it and empower them for the strengths they have, while making sure that other people understand where you're coming from. I've worked with many, many different personalities, many, many different leaders with different strengths, different than my own, but we can work really well together if I understand where you're coming from and who you are. And then I become a little more patient too.
I think we need more females in the organizations, I think, at the higher level, because we're a bit more empathetic.
Yes, I actually just wrote a blog on job sharing, because it is a little more prevalent in European countries than ours. And they were talking about how job sharing actually allows females to move up organizationally, because it allows you at certain times in your life where you're trying to take care of family or you have other obligations. You don't have to leave the workforce completely. You can continue to engage and move up in the organization. And I thought that was a really great strategy. I just wrote a blog about it for organizations. You know what? We need to diversify what we're considering our job postings to be. Why not? If you
Absolutely.
can't
And what's
get it,
wrong with job sharing? Really,
I think it's
a lot
fantastic.
of people, even men, want to work part-time because they want to become, they want to have time with their families when, at the moment they're working full-time, they have no time.
Right. And I think it's a really interesting idea because I don't particularly want another full-time job, but I bring to your organization, for example, 25 years of experience. Well, what if you offered me the opportunity to bring in my expertise in a job sharing opportunity? I might look at it, where I'm not going to look at a part-time job because they're not at the executive level where I've worked and where I've achieved, my knowledge. So when we think of organizations are saying that they're bringing a lot of people in at the beginner level, which is fine, and your organization will grow, but you're missing people at the top. Well, diversify how you're looking at it.
Absolutely. I mean, I often tempt in positions that were well below what I was capable of doing. And so when I brought my, skills to that low-level job, I wasn't thanked for it at all because, and that was always disheartening because, they couldn't see the wood for the trees and didn't appreciate the fact that I could see things that needed that could be fixed, when sometimes it really needed to be fixed, but because I was in the lowly paid job, I had no say. And how dare I as a temp even bring to their attention that they've got flaws in their organization.
Wow, that's really good insight. What a great example, because you're right. If they'd taken the time to get to know who you were and the unique skills they were bringing to your that organization, imagine how they could have leveraged that.
Yeah,
But we're
their
so
loss, but still,
100%.
yeah. I didn't think of it at the time because, I actually walked out on jobs, didn't give notice. I just walked out because I just couldn't stand the bitchiness that was going on in the place. I mean, it was at all levels, and it was just like clicky, and I don't like clicky. I think clicky's horrible.
It is. It is. The good thing for me, not being part of the organizations anymore, I actually like that stuff. I don't like the clickiness, but I don't concern myself with being part of the organization anymore. So my job now is to come in and figure out why. There's a reason why this turmoil is happening. There's a reason why you held a meeting. Nobody talked. You asked for input. Nobody gave you any. And half an hour later, virtually everybody's texting and saying what they really think, or in the office, they're all having a side huddle and telling each other why they think this is a bad idea. That's the stuff I like, because it means that we've got some answers, some stuff that we can look at. Let's figure out why this is going on. Let's get to the bottom of it, because I have been definitely involved in situations where, we can take that kind of a team that's not getting along well, work with them, get them so they know each other, try some exercises, instill some different rules. And by the end, they're laughing and enjoying each other. And that's what you want. That's what they want. So I think there's a lot of fun in it. This is the stuff I like. But yeah, we do have to look at our employees a little bit differently, our leadership differently, how we do things differently. And you don't necessarily know how to do that. You know your organization well, but to try to pivot on your own, that's impossible.
Yeah, it does take some self-reflection and a lot of self-improvement.
I kind of equate it to writing a book, right? Like I wrote a book, but I can't write the book and then hand it to you and say, here, it's ready to publish. I need you to read it for me. I need you to give me your input. I need you to point out the gaps that I can't see.
Absolutely.
I think it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you go into an organization and to do that, it's helpful. Carrie-lynn, tell me about your book. What's it called and where can we find it?
Yeah, it's called Knowing Who You Lead, because the premise that we need to know who we're leading. I have it right here, my beautiful book that I'm very excited about. We can get it. It will be available at the end of August on anywhere that you can get books. So Amazon, Kobo, people can follow me on LinkedIn, or my Facebook page or my website. I'm actually trying to share people contents of the book now. I want you to know like how I think, how I operate, because I think just like anybody else that I'm saying, get to know your people. Well, you need to get to know the author. You need to understand who I am and how I think to know that you'd be interested in reading it and maybe instilling some of these things that I'm giving you in this book. Lots of exercises, lots of my mistakes.
Ah, yes, and we've all made them, and but they're opportunities to grow and to learn.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Carrie-lynn, where can people find you if they'd like to work with you?
So my business is called Inspiring Organizational Growth. And so my website, same thing, .ca. I have a website for the book too, knowingwhoyoulead.com. And again, on LinkedIn.
Perfect. And if you were to give someone some wise words, say that you were talking to yourself when you were 18 and you were in this position that you had a really bad leader, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think people have to realize that everybody has a story. We try to create the story about the person. They're doing this because of this. They don't like me. And we often, that story involves us shaming, blaming, frustration, anger. Take a couple of seconds, ask somebody who knows that person maybe better than you do. And when you start to learn about their family situation, or you start to learn about how they, went through the organization, or maybe frustrations that they have, or you gave a great point. Maybe they just got shoved into this role with no leadership training. And what they're really, really good at is something completely different. I think it allows you to see the person a little more human, and then learn how to work with them the way they need to be worked with, but also give yourself permission to stand up for yourself, explain who you are, and explain your needs. And it could be they just don't realize it. Now, some people are not very receptive. And if you try those things and they are not, well, you know what? Still stand up for yourself and explain it to somebody else that this is what you needed as an employee. And be honest, I'm not happy. This is not what I expected in your organization. Cite their annual plan, cite their vision, cite their mission. This is what you want to be as an organization, and I want to work with you. But I need some growth on, the leader side or my own side. I think if we have honest, frank conversations with people, we can get to know each other a little bit more.
Absolutely. And I think conversations are the way to go now, more so than ever before, because, the world's got a lot smaller in the last couple of years. And I think, we need to have more conversations to bring the world into a happier space.
We do.
Carrie-lynn, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being here today. I've so enjoyed our conversation.
I have too. I really love how our backgrounds are quite similar.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.